Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Representative Langworthy out of New York puts the crazies in the Democrat Party on blast, particularly DeLauro here, although he saves the best for last. Let's dive in.
I'm really tired and, quite honestly, fed up. It is a lie, it is misinformation that we had to reopen the government in order for there to be SNAP benefits to go to families. $6 billion in a contingency fund, which we voted for. Read the bill, understand what you did in the bill, and know what you did. You passed it, and it was the president who decided he did not want to spend that money to feed people. He's taken it all the way to the Supreme Court to deprive people and kids. It's 16 million kids. It's 8 million seniors. It's 4 million people who are disabled and 1.2 million veterans. You want to care for your veterans? Care for your veterans? Make sure that that money in that contingency fund is outflowing tonight and going, and not let them claw back, telling states, get the money back that you have given out. What is wrong with this picture?
You acknowledge people are suffering and doing without. But then you say you won't vote to make that pain go away. How? If you want to present yourself as an intellectually honest individual, how can you try to have it both ways on this argument? The American people have suffered long enough. You've called it a Republican shutdown. Now you're furious that the shutdown is ending. It's not leadership. It's hypocrisy at its very worst. You're trying to say this is a health care bill about a policy that Chairman Cole has articulated about 19 times tonight is not involved in the funding levels of this government. There is plenty of time for a robust discussion to work together through the natural process where it belongs. Our VA employees have gone without pay. Our border agents, our Coast Guard, they've missed paychecks while still serving this country. Families depending on SNAP and WIC have been left wondering when they'd get food on the table. Air traffic controllers, by God's grace, we had no air disasters during this. A system that is already overstretched, that we are trying to modernize and fix and recruit more of. They've worked without a paycheck, and the American people have fortunately been kept safe. These are the real-world costs of the political games. Real people, not anyone in public office, paid the price. Now, after weeks of pain and posturing, the Senate has finally discovered a breakthrough. But let's be honest, this is the same bipartisan agreement they could have passed 40 days ago, 30 days ago, 20 days ago. This deal could have been on the table any time they were ready to come to that table. But the only thing that changed was political timing. The only thing that changed. And that timing should not be lost on anyone. Anyone watching, any members of the media, as to how all of a sudden we get to this epiphany that now is the time. Because Election Day was a week ago. And some of their colleagues have said the quiet part out loud on TV. And they've said, we couldn't back down before our base turned out in blue states like Virginia, New Jersey, and in New York. And you're watching all of their colleagues get barbecued by that angry mob. But let's also be clear, this was never about health care. This was about another talking point and another distraction. And we can and we will have that full and honest debate about health care during the final appropriations process and throughout the budget year. But this shutdown was about one thing. It was about power. It was about Chuck Schumer and Democratic leaders trying to hold a government hostage for their own ambitions, to satisfy their angry mob that wants them to come back with a pound of flesh from President Trump. If Democrats want to let their angry fringe burn their party down, that's their choice. But we are not going to let them hurt the American people any longer in this process. We are not going to let them hold anyone hostage in the name of political chaos. And I want to thank senators on both sides of the aisle to coming to their senses and working together. And I specifically want to mention Senator Fetterman, who has said from the very beginning that you can support the health care policy efforts that many in this room are talking about tonight. But you could also do what's right and fund the government and take care of the people, which we swore an oath to do.
Langworthy did not hold back, and I don't blame him. Having to face not only an uphill battle, that's already problem number one. Republicans have to fight an uphill battle, basically fighting up the stairwell, okay? The reason they have to do this, the reason that we have to do this, is because we have crazies like DeLauro out there spewing nonsense. So not only do we have to articulate our own points, we've got to deal with Democrat nonsense, and then third problem we've got to deal with an entire media apparatus and machine designed to make the crazies look smart and look sane while making the Republican talking points look insane. That is what we're constantly up against. And that's sort of the theme that I want to be tackling here for the next couple of months while I can, to get the message out there that we've got to start changing the way that we do, at least our elected officials, deal with the mainstream media. We've done well. We've done well in the past couple of years, but the game is shifting yet again. It does not matter that it took Democrats to shut the whole thing down. The Republicans had enough votes on their side under certain reconciliation terms, but we needed 60 votes according to the filibuster in the Senate, and the Democrats didn't want to cross the aisle until, which Langworthy pointed out here, and again, I need to apologize because I should have thought of this weeks ago. They wanted to ensure that Republican turnout was low and Democrat turnout was high in 2025, just over a week ago. They wanted to do this in order to ensure turnout. That is a disgusting tactic, basically using people who need these benefits and holding them hostage. Then you've got a problem. So already right off the bat, the Republican talking point is simple. Democrats needed to cross the aisle. They took forever to do it. And guess who's getting blamed for it? Thanks to the left-stream media? That's right, it's the Republican Party. Not the Democrats for refusing to do their part. Then you got DeLauro out here spewing absolute tripe, talking about the president could have given all these staff benefit money. No, he couldn't have. What are you talking about? This is the best thing I could possibly find about it, and it wasn't a good article, so I had to use Google AI, and I don't like doing that. What's the point of using Google AI when you can just have a normal Google search? But the AI that I kept seeing pointed out that no, there is no SNAP benefit emergency fund, so right off the bat, DeLauro's nose starts looking a little bit more like Pinocchio's, and then she talked about how vile and terrible it was that Republicans were doing this. Once again, whoop, that nose is growing. All right. Then she says that the Trump administration could have distributed the funds. The only way that makes sense in any world. And by the way, you could tell the political theater. You could hear the beads and basically what should have been a tambourine in the background. What you heard from DeLauro was theater because she knows better. She was biding her time. There was a video before hers that I happened to be watching where she was kind of swaying back and forth. It was really odd. Where she had to pay attention to the chairman basically telling the truth, and it was making her uncomfortable. However, in this case, she is out there going full blast, which usually means she's getting in character. You know what she wanted to end on? The idea that the Trump administration was withholding funds. The closest I could find to that. And I know I've been beating around the bush on this. The closest I could find was the court order saying, no, you've got to provide these funds, even though the Trump administration basically was going to do, once again, what has been their modus operandi of, I don't think we need to obey this order. Because the judicial branch has gotten so insane and drunk with power that they will try everything they can to stop anything that the Trump administration is doing, even by dubious legal means, and thus escalating that up to the Supreme Court. And every time we do, the Supreme Court rolls their eyes. They go, no, there's no legal standing for this judge to come to this ruling. You need to let the president do his job. At a certain point, we've got to start looking at these judges and wondering, do they need to be in this position? Because if they're going to be an activist, they can do so as a private citizen, not as a sitting federal judge. And so DeLauro's only leg to stand on here is to go along those lines of, Trump refused to work with the courts, even though the courts were dubious in their nature. doing something that technically isn't legal, and then to make matters even crazier, isn't even in the bounds of the legislation that she's talking about. I couldn't find anything. So correct me if I'm wrong, that's what the comment section is for. But DeLauro knows what she's doing. Just the same way Hakeem Jeffries can get up and spew his nonsense. Just the same way that other Democrats use this time and time again, they know that the mainstream media, the left-stream media, will run point for them, and they can get away with it. Again, this is the model. Republicans say one thing that's true. Democrats say something that's crazy. Mainstream media bends over backwards. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, they'll bend over backwards to say that the crazy thing's the good thing, and the normal basic talking point that's true is bad. Even though you start reading past the third paragraph on the article and you realize, oh, the headline doesn't match up, and the Republicans are technically correct. It's political theater, and it does not matter that Langworthy is correct. The only way it matters is if we get a stronger voice from outside of these mainstream outlets in order to project what's really happening on here. I hope that's what I did here in this video, here at Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for joining in. And hey, if you want to keep us independent and keep us giving you as great of content as we possibly can and as fast as we can, consider becoming Politibrawlers and full-time members. A few bucks a month, but only if you feel led. Till next time, y'all have a good one.